My name's Dave Dubeau, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey gang, welcome back. Today we got something kind of interesting, kind of different, a different flavor of investing. Our special guest, zooming in all the way from Bowling Green, Kentucky, is not actually in real estate. He is in oil and gas. And RJ Burr has been doing this for quite some time. I believe he got onto his first oil rig when he was still in britches. And we're going to talk a little bit about comparing, contrasting oil and gas versus real estate, and also his specialty, which is raising private capital. So, RJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, David, wonderful to be here.
So we were talking a little bit off camera, and you said that oil and gas and real estate might not be brothers and sisters, but they're first cousins. So tell me a little bit about that. Let's unwrap this. Comparing and contrasting oil and gas investing versus real estate.
Well, real estate and oil and gas are based on one thing and one thing alone: location. And it's really, if you're not in the right location in either industry, you're in the wrong spot. And the biggest separator between us is just a couple thousand feet. And so it's just being in the right location and drilling to the right spot. But
I think the right location is really important for the oil and gas guys.
That's without a doubt. I mean, if you're fishing in a creek with no fish in it, are you fishing?
Yeah, exactly.
Or are you just wasting your time?
Yeah. Okay. So location. That makes sense. So maybe explain to us that are not super familiar with the oil and gas business. Mm-hmm. And please, RJ, dumb it down for this guy. Okay. How does the business work? Because a lot of us have seen stuff on TV and in movies and whatever, but we don't have the faintest clue of how oil and gas really works. So maybe just kind of walk us through it, 30,000 foot perspective.
Well, the biggest issue that I've come to realize that we face, and especially in the States, educationally, I believe we have let our citizens down so much by not informing them about a product that is so vital to everybody's life. I mean, understand.
Everybody sees it as this evil substance, but we don't realize how much we need it.
We've killed education so much that most people don't realize the modern world didn't begin until 1859. And that was when we drilled the first oil well in the United States. Mm-hmm. And from that moment, oil has shaped everything we have done as a species. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at it from that context, and one of the unique things about American oil is when I'm speaking to a room, the first thing I'll do is I'll ask that room, name me an American oil company. And inevitably, they're going to go to Exxon. They're going to go to Chevron. They're going to go to one of the majors.
Yeah.
When nothing could be further from the truth. American oil is roughly 9,000 independent companies that average 12 employees or less.
Really?
See, that's American oil.
That's what I want to understand. How does that business work? Because we all assume it's
you. Okay. There's no academic pedigree behind this theory. This is strictly what I've put together over 30 years.
Yep.
Every oil and gas company starts as one or a group of people they want to be oilmen. So they meet a geologist, they get a prospect, they go out, they raise the money, they go drill the well. Well, for 99.9% of them, that's the end of the road right there. They miss the well, they can't raise any more money, out of business sign goes in the window. For that 0.1% that gets lucky and hits that well, they found.
And there's 9,000 of those 0.1 percenters. Is that what you're saying?
No, well, there's 9,000 of the 0.1 that hit that well.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Now, what they'll do is they found job security. Their job is secure as long as they have wells to develop that field, develop the reserves. Now, while they're doing that, they're looking for another lily pad. They're looking for another well to hit where when they're done developing this, they can jump to that one and develop it. Well, a successful oil man, he looks back at his life. He's 70, 80 years old. He's found 5, 10, maybe 15 of these lily pads. He's made a wonderful career. His partners have made a lot of money. He's been a successful oilman. However, he has spent his entire career doing what we call chasing oil. And what do we mean by that? That simply means he never found enough oil to get him ahead of the curve. So he had to produce everything he had to keep his engine going. Doesn't mean he's not successful. Doesn't mean his group didn't make a lot of money. It just meant that he never got ahead of the curve. Now, one of the rarest
kind of like flipping houses kind of thing, right? You always got to be finding that next thing. Yeah.
Now, I truly believe one of the rarest moments in oil is when a company goes from chasing oil to producing oil. And the difference is small. The difference is, one, when you're producing oil, doesn't mean you're going to hit every well you drill. However, you know the oil's there. You have a pretty good idea that if you can get to total depth, you're going to have the oil. But secondly, and probably more importantly, you have found enough oil or acquired enough oil where you can utilize that oil to acquire more. Now you're truly in the oil business. From that point, typically one of three things happen. You either go public, somebody buys you, or you just stay where you are because everybody's making enough money. You don't want to rock the boat. And so that's when you truly make it. Now, and I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but my family's done it twice now. First time, we call it our first life in oil. My first life in oil ended a little over a decade here ago when Marathon Oil bought our family company out. We started Panex. It took me about 2 years to go stir crazy. And that was when we started Panex. Now, it is a company, one of the fortunate things that we've done that with the help of our partners, we were one of the few companies that saw a 2020 coming. When that drop in oil prices happened, it was devastating. When you look at American Oil and now understand who American Oil is, those 9,000 companies, they're the ones that took the brunt of that. And so we were fortunate. We were able to turn negative 40 oil into what we think several billion in oil reserves. And in the last couple of years, we've now been developing. Now,
because you're able to buy out those other guys that were struggling. Is that basically what you did, or what?
We didn't. Well, yes, that's what it ended up being. But no, what we did at that point is we came in and basically bridge loaned them and said, "Look, here's what we'll do. We'll buy all of your reserves. Now, once you get up and going, if you can buy us out plus 10%, if you can do it in a year, you can have 75% of them back." And so we gave way. We didn't want to be vultures, and so we gave ways for the companies to work themselves out of it. But most of them, you had in a lot of cases, you had Ma and Pa. They had $3 million in the bank. They look at all the damage, especially after prices drop, and then Corona us sending everybody home. They look at each other and say, "Well, Ma, we can spend this $3 million, and hopefully we can recoup it in this field, or we can wipe our hands and ride off to the sunset." And that's what a lot of them did.
Yeah.
Now, the unique moment we're in right now is anybody who pays attention to history knows that history does repeat itself. What it doesn't do, it doesn't repeat itself in less than a 5-year period. However, it's about to. American Oil is looking at it just dead in the face. And the reason I say that, you don't have to be tied into the news to see what President Trump's doing. His number one goal is to kickstart the American economy. Well, what's the quickest way to do that? Low energy prices. You bring the price of oil down, the price of everything else goes down. Yeah, I've seen some experts predicting it's going to get to $20, $30 a barrel.
Wow.
Well, in normal times with a healthy industry, yes, it would be annoying. We have to deal with the low prices while they're down also. But it would be something that we just kind of take as an annoying speed bump and keep on going.
Right.
However, remember, this industry, these 9,000 companies, they faced the largest drop in oil price history less than 5 years ago.
Right.
The companies that weren't outright put out of business, a lot of them were severely damaged financially. And they spent the last 5 years trying to catch up. Now, if it had been a warm and friendly environment out there, they'd had a lot better shot at catching up. But it's been pretty daggone hostile these last 5 years. Now it's easing up now, but it was bad for 4 years there. Well, these companies aren't in a position to take another drop like this. Now, here's the big difference. In 2020, very few people saw it coming. And so when April 20th came and those prices crashed, it caught a lot of oil companies with their pants down. And that maximized the damage. Now, you add COVID on top of it and us sending everybody home, it just wreaked havoc.
Yeah.
Well, this time everybody sees it coming. And so what's going to happen is as that damage on the horizon starts approaching, these companies are going to start shedding assets. They're
Hmm.
going to start selling their reserves for cash to bolster their cash accounts where they can ride out the storm. Well, just like 2020, when that happens and they start shedding assets, we're going to be sitting there with cash on hand, ready to pick them up for pennies on a dollar. And
Cool.
that's really that's what we do. Now,
That's the business.
how
Well,
do our partners participate?
thanks for explaining the business model, big picture there, RJ. Okay, so a couple of things are popping out to me.
Hmm.
Rewinding very back to the beginning of your conversation, you talk about the 99.9% of oilmen go out there and fall flat on their face after raising a bunch of money from a bunch of investors to give it a try.
Hmm.
So what's ringing in my ears is oil is risky as hell
Oh yeah.
as an investment unless you know the operators and you're in with an established company.
Hmm.
So what advice, what suggestions do you have to people about oil as an investment?
Oh, know the people. That's the key. And know the people. I've been to enough investment conferences, and I know enough high wealth investors, and I know enough that typically your jack of all trades end up getting you in trouble. Just because it's very hard to be. Well, it's like oil. If this industry was easy, we'd be trillionaires
Mm-hmm.
because we're good at it. And so when I look at that and I see guys that jump in they've been in it a handful of years, be very cautious with who you're getting involved with, because what people don't realize, and that goes to the second point when it comes to raising capital, for somebody to take their hard-earned money and send it to you, that's the most sacred decision that can be made in business.
Yeah.
Most people did not make their money easily. Most people didn't inherit it. Most people didn't win the lottery. Most people sacrificed. Most people missed little league games. Most people missed ballet recitals. Most people missed dinners with the family. Successful people, I don't want to, I'm not trying to be rude about this, but successful people do what unsuccessful people are unwilling to do.
Yeah.
They make the sacrifices they have to make. That's why they're successful. And so for them to take what they have sacrificed for and entrust it to you, man, that's pretty heavy. And so from day one, my dad taught me, and I learned everything from my dad. I mean, from day one, that was where I learned oil and gas.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Boy, understand one thing: without your partners, you don't have a business. And so every decision you make has to be based on one thing and one thing alone. How does it affect the partners? Because if it's not good for them, I don't care how good it is for you. Don't do it." And
Great
so
advice
that
from
is really
Dad.
the
Yeah.
that's the foundation we built everything around. Because, well, the programs we're offering now, I put a program together now specifically is kind of a thank you to my partners, because I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today. I had a group of guys that put up, or well, guys and ladies that put up about $10 million 5 years ago, when the only thing we had to offer them when it came to why you should is who we are and what we believed would happen. There was nothing tangible. There was nothing there was no properties acquired. There was none of that. These guys had faith in what we were doing, put the money in, and looks like we turned it into several billion dollars. And so we want to put, without them, we're not here. And so when I put something together, I make sure my partners are at the front of the
Well,
line.
let's rewind 20 years when you're kind of first getting into the business.
Hmm.
You hadn't done the successful exit. What were some of the things that you were doing to connect with people and raise capital from strangers back then?
Oh, well, and the it's hard giving advice today
Yeah.
versus back in my day, because back in my day, I lived in the old adage, $400 a day keeps the doctor away. I picked up that phone and smiled and dialed. I remember days when I would stay in the office till 10, 11 o'clock at night because I could call Hawaii.
Yeah.
And so you make the number. As a young salesman, I made the numbers work for me. If I was an old jock, and so I wanted to know my batting average. Well, I knew that if I was a 1 in 20 closer and you were a 1 in 10 closer, well, how do I beat you? I work twice as hard.
Three
And,
times
and
as hard.
so,
Yeah.
now, eventually, I happen to be good at it. And so that 1 in 20 went to 1 in 12, went to 1 in 10, went to 1 in 8, went to 1 in 6. So all of a sudden now I have the same work ethic I did when I was 1 in 20, but now I'm closing 1 in 6. Well, you have no way of keeping up with me.
Yeah.
And so you have to have that just the determination that what's the easiest thing? That phone gets heavy. It
Yeah.
really does. And it's it's an old cliche, and I love old sayings because there's truth to them. But you do have to be like a duck with water. You just have to shake it off your back, because every no means you're one step closer to a yes.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the biggest problem young salesmen and young fundraisers have is rejection.
So what are
They
you
say
seeing these days? Because that's back in the day. So what about these days when you're seeing the young guys come up and they're getting started with this? What are the successful ones doing that the unsuccessful ones aren't? What's working
they're
for them?
more personable. You can tell that they didn't form their life on social media and through cell phones.
So they can
They
actually have a
form their life by
conversation,
talking to people, by communicating.
which is a challenge nowadays, isn't it? I mean,
No, you're
so many
100%
people.
right. No,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. I mean, I with my kids, I got 4 kids, and to watch how these kids got dates and how they did all this. I mean, I wouldn't have known how to do it. I
Swiping
mean,
stuff. It's just
yeah,
swiping things and
and
whatnot.
so
Yeah.
but I kind of I was rough on my kids. I mean, I kind of looked at it as not my job to be their friend. It's my job to make sure they're ready for the world,
Mhm.
because whether you want it to be or not, if you're not ready for it, the world is cruel, heartless, and cold,
Mhm.
and it will stomp you and throw you on the side of the road if you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
And so I would much rather them be ready for it and not have to be, than not be ready for it and be overwhelmed. I was at CPAC here a couple of years ago, and in DC, and this kid from PBS came up to me. He said, "You're the old guy, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And so we struck up a conversation, talked for a good 15, 20 minutes, and somehow the conversation went to woke kids. And he goes, "Well, what about all these woke kids that are being raised? What do you say to their parents?" I said, "Nothing. Good. Keep doing it." He said, "What? Why?" He said, "Why would you say that?" He said, "I go, it's not my job to tell them how to raise their kids. However, I'll tell you the results of it.
Mhm.
When their kids get in the real world and face my kids are going to chew them up and spit them out, because their kids weren't prepared for the real world."
Mhm.
I'm not an advocate for bullying in any sense. However, in hindsight, being bullied was a rite of passage. My life didn't change. I didn't become not a grown up. I was in 6th grade, but I didn't reach that next level of being a man until I stood up to my bullies in the 6th grade, and they
Yeah.
realized, I was not an easy target anymore. And so that's kind of a rite of passage. And when we don't let those kids do that, all of a sudden they get to the real world, and guess what business is? You can do it with a smile on your face. You can do it nicely. You can do it very in any manner you want. But guess what? You're a bully. You're bullying somebody so you can win for your business. And if you're not willing to bully for your business, your investors are going to fire you and
Yeah.
find somebody who will. And so we're trying to cut that from society. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to make sure my kids have it.
They got to have a thick skin. No, that's absolutely true. RJ, things fly, time flies by. I'm sure some people are going to want to find out more about what you're up to. Where's the best place for them to go?
Oh, panex.us/learn. That website was specifically created for individuals who've never invested in oil, give you a base foundation on the industry. Whether you invest with us or not, it will bolster your education, and you'll know a little bit more about oil and what we do.
Fantastic. RJ, thanks so much for being on the show. It's been a nice change, and I appreciate learning a little bit about the oil and gas business.
Thank you, Dave. Have a good one.
All right, everybody, take care, and we will see you on the next episode. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.